Tennessee wing Nate Ament came into the 2026 NBA draft cycle as one of the top prospects, and while he didn't fully live up to his potential as a top 5 guy, he still showed plenty of upside and NBA skill in his lone season with the Vols. We finally have official combine measurements, so I don't have to keep basing this off reports. Nate Ament stands at 6'9.5" without shoes, with a 6'11.5" wingspan, weighing 210 pounds, and owning a standing reach of 9'1.5". Elite measurables and prototypical size on the wing. Across 35 games with the Vols, Ament averaged 16.7 points, 6.3 rebounds, 2.3 assists, 1 steal, and 0.6 blocks per game, shooting 40% from the field, 33% from 3, and 79% from the line. While Tennessee was a little up and down during the regular season, they did punch their ticket to the Elite 8 in the NCAA tournament, with Ament playing a large part in that. Ament's major strengths include his size and fluidity, face-up scoring upside, rebounding, and defensive upside. As previously mentioned, a lot of Ament's value and upside is tied to his size and length, in addition to the fluidity that he plays with. At a confirmed 6'10" in shoes, Ament has legitimate NBA size and length that rears its head across his game, helping him to shoot over defenders and offering him a really nice floor and ceiling on defense. He has great top-end speed in the open floor, able to cover ground on both ends. In addition to being long and rangy, there's also a certain level of mobility and coordination that Ament has that jumps out. He's not an explosive athlete vertically or laterally, though his connectedness and coordination as a mover does offer a level of grace across his game in general. And when you pair all this with Ament's largely perimeter-based play style, you get a very unique player that's likely to be best served as a massive wing. Some will question why Ament is still a mid to late lottery pick on major mock drafts and boards given some of the woes he saw as a college freshman, and the answer is usually that players of this size and mold just don't grow on trees, and they have elite upside if developed correctly.
20 of their 28 makes are assisted. Oh, big time lob to Ament.
Guys are getting over 100 every single game.
Breakaway for Ament.
The primary long-term draw with Nate Ament will of course be his scoring, which was up and down in his lone season with Tennessee. As previously mentioned, Ament is far more perimeter-based than most players of his size, offering true face-up scoring potential at 6'10". Across 35 games, Ament was able to score a great 16.7 points per contest, trailing only fellow draft hopeful Jacoby Gillespie, though he did so on just 40% shooting overall, 33% shooting from beyond the arc, and 79% at the line, pointing to some needed improvement across the board. Given he'll be roving around beyond the arc more often than not, Ament's jump shot and the ensuing results are far and away the most important part of the puzzle. Jumpers accounted for 58% of his total diet of field goal attempts, nearly evenly split between 2s and 3s. He shot 36% on jumpers in general, good for 40% on 2s and 33% on 3s. In terms of the actual shot mechanics, they are largely fine, they're relatively smooth, and his release point is great for his size and height, not allowing defenders to affect it often. I do think the release itself lends itself to some inconsistent power, sometimes going long or short, but I'm not a shot doctor, and overall it's very workable from an NBA standpoint. Additionally positive is that Ament is great about keeping control through his shooting motion, able to contort his body or quickly go from handling to rising into a shot with ease, both marks of great jump shooters. Given he shot 33% as a whole on 4 attempts from beyond the arc, there's no singularly reliable shot you can point to for Ament, but he did shoot 39% coming off screen, which if continually developed and built on, will be a major want out of NBA teams looking for an unguardable movement weapon. Ament's height and high release allowed him to see easily over defenders and deliver pretty consistent shots, which I think played into some of the funky numbers. He split his jumpers nearly evenly between catch and shoot attempts and shots off the dribble, taking just 10 more of the former, but he actually shot better off the bounce than he did simply catching and shooting. He shot 33% on all catch and shoot shots, with basically no change on guarded and unguarded, on dead even volume, but he shot 41% on dribble jumpers despite hitting on just 29% of dribble jumper 3s. All of that points to in rhythm, off the bounce 2s being Ament's best mode of offense with Tennessee, which is not presently looked at as the best shot in basketball. Ament was enough of a threat as a jump shooter to leverage his above average handle for his size, attacking closeouts and navigating the open floor pretty well, though the finishing itself presented issues that we'll dive into later. On spot up plays, Ament shot just 34% overall, with similar marks on both 2s and 3s. Ament's numbers outside of the points per game and some individual box scores aren't necessarily awe-inspiring, but when he runs the floor, flies around a screen, and smoothly hits a high-rising triple at 6'10", the vision is certainly there. One won't fault NBA teams and decision makers for banking on upside with Ament, and I do think the spaced out NBA and prioritizing him as an off wing opposed to a top scoring option will help him immediately at the professional level. More theoretical than his scoring at this point is Ament's defensive upside, though again at 6'10 with length, range, and fluidity, the bones of an impactful defender on the wing are there, and that flashed in moments with Tennessee. Across his 35 games, Ament nabbed 34 steals and 22 blocks in total, good for 1 and 0.6 per game, in addition to a 1.9 steal percentage and 2.7 block percentage. He also posted a 3.3 defensive box plus minus, all numbers that aren't glaringly bad, but do leave plenty to be desired given his tools. Even still, there are flashes of Ament fanning out, moving his feet, deflecting the ball, switching, showing some physicality on bigger matchups, and even blocking shots. The consistency here on defense is probably fewer and further between than the scoring flashes, but Ament is competitive and a fine thinker of the game, able to put himself in decent position more often than not. I especially like the way he can sit down in his stance, even at 6'10", and that's likely the longer term vision for NBA teams, a player that can guard on the wing in space across a few different positions, won't be heavily targeted due to his pure size, and can make plays when needed. Just given the Tennessee output and his strengths shading more toward wing, I don't think Ament is ever going to be destined to be a prolific shot blocker or weak side monster, but I do think his combination of size and movement will allow him to contest and sort of stay in the way on the wing, seldomly allowing for some blocked shots. Overall, this is yet another area that Ament needs to see progress in, but has a lot of theoretical upside if strides are taken. Given the volatility of Ament's scoring and defense, there's been some boom or bust tags associated with him, as if he's either going to be next-gen KD or out of the league entirely, and I think that's far from the truth. So I wanted to highlight some ancillary skills like rebounding and passing that I think help Nate Ament's case as a potentially positive role player. We've established that Ament is more of a big wing opposed to a true 4 or front court player, and I think that makes his 6.3 rebounds per game, 4.6 defensive and 1.7 offensive, a real highlight to his game. The line of both getting up 3-point attempts and coming down with boards can be a hard one to follow, and I think Ament does pretty well, of course seeing a largely jumper-heavy shot diet, but also putting his nose in on the interior to crash the glass as well. A rebounding percentage of nearly 12% isn't earth-shattering, but considering you'll be able to play 2 front court players alongside him, I think there's some value there overall. In terms of his passing, Ament isn't a locked-in big initiator, but his 2.3 assists per game were pretty strong relative to this archetype. His height allows him to see over defense, granting him decent vision, and his wing playstyle allows for some interesting wrinkles in terms of post entry and even pick and roll passing. In the least, I think he's somewhat scalable as a wash on the passing front, and he isn't going to massively hurt you, which is another positive. All in all, if the shot's not falling, I think there still could be some ways that Ament can add value when on the floor long term. For the first area of improvement for Nate Ament, we have gone with strength and finishing. His positional size and upside are great, but a lack of true strength is holding him back in plenty of concrete ways. Having weighed in at 210 at the combine, Ament has seemingly packed on some muscle and added a little bit of strength overall in the last few years, but he'll need to continue doing so early in his NBA career and then actually parlay that onto the court. Far and away, the biggest way this hampered him was his at-rim finishing. Despite being 6'10", Ament shot just 48% at the rim, dunking the ball just 13 times on the season and shooting just 43% on layups. He's prone to getting bumped off spots while on line to the rim and hasn't yet mastered playing through contact at a few levels. The finishing numbers are truly tough marks in terms of NBA projection, where interior players and rim protectors are notably much bigger and more adept than the college level. Added strength would also help him in holding up on defense, where he's likely to guard wings, but will still be asked to guard 4s and other similarly sized players who are going to have strength advantages. From a physicality perspective, I actually think Nate Ament is a very physical player, not shying away from contact in the slightest, and this actually bears out in a few ways. One of the best parts about Ament's profile is spurred by this. He posted a great .58 free throw rate, shooting over 7 free throws per game and hitting on 79%. That's a legit skill that should be able to carry over to the professional level, drawing contact, getting to the line. The issue is more so holding up with that level of physicality in the NBA, which is, of course, a pretty sizable leap. Again, Ament has prototypical wing size, but adding muscle, getting functionally stronger, and learning to play through contact are all going to be massive for his ability to actually use it.
It's 5-on-4 right now. Boy, Ament too big, too strong right there, but he missed it easy. Ament, a massive height advantage. Goes up one, no good. Carries a wide body to Vanderbilt transfer, just having a phenomenal start. Ament hard, he brought it.
The last few areas of improvement for Nate Ament are of course his efficiency, which could use a boost across the board in addition to his overall consistency. Firstly, Ament is simply going to have to capitalize more as a scorer, finish better at the rim, see shots through from a distance, and adding strength, playing through physicality, refining the mechanics, gaining confidence, learning the ins and outs of whatever system he lands with, those will all be pathways toward doing so, but point blank he is just going to have to convert more to be playable at the NBA level. If he gets to that point, he'll need to become more consistent overall as well. Ament's season was highlighted by really high highs, but also some low lows with no real line of demarcation outside of loosely conference play. Ament started out averaging 19 points on 45% shooting across his first 6 games, before then dipping to 12 points on 36% shooting in the next 9 games. He would see his best stretch of the season through the last 14 games of conference play, 20 points per game on 43% shooting, including just under 40% from 3. That stretch was what I would consider a positive trend towards growth, but he also capped his postseason with some really down performances. 1 for 13 shooting against Vanderbilt, 0 field goals against Miami of Ohio, 2 for 12 against Michigan in the Elite 8, and even that sandwiched really good play against Virginia and Iowa State. The best version of Nate Ament looks very special, incredible shot making, fluidity with the ball, able to put feelers into areas like defense and passing, but he does need to find that level with more consistency overall. Nate Ament is going to offer as polarizing a player as there is in the 2026 draft class. Decision makers that believe in his ability to get stronger and tighten things up across the board will envision a prototypical modern wing capable of uncontestable shot making and a dash of just about everything else. Those that don't envision everything syncing up will probably want to avoid him entirely. Due to that, I think Ament's range is likely to start around 10, give or take a few spots, but could also extend somewhere into the late teens to the early 20s if teams are dead set on grabbing bona fide contributors in a seemingly deep first round. Given that Ament will obviously need some time to grow and develop and work through any deficiencies, I like basically any landing spot that's available to grant him that, as well as some spots that can take the offensive pressure off him and allow him to scale down early. Some that are realistic to where he might be selected are Atlanta, Charlotte as an ancillary scoring piece, and Chicago with their second first-round pick.